What's up, guys? Tonight, you guys are going to take notes on biomes of the world. So, biomes are regions of the biosphere with a particular climate and very specific characteristics. They'll usually have the same type of dominant communities or similar wildlife, flora, and fauna. So, the tundra is typically flat and treeless, and it usually will have a layer of permafrost, in which the underlying layers of soil are permanently frozen. In terms of its weather, plants, and animals, the weather and climate will have a thin layer of soil on top of the permafrost. And in winters, it's pretty harsh. It can reach as low as -60 Fahrenheit with really long summer days and short winter days. Plants can be lichens, small shrubs, or grass. There will never be trees, and animals include falcons, snowy owls, Arctic foxes, caribous, polar bears, lemmings, and a lot of mosquitoes. They are located in Alaska, northern Canada, southern Greenland, northern Russia, and some parts of Antarctica, the most northern shores of Antarctica. In terms of penguins flying, the hoax. um, Penguins can't fly, but some penguin species do reside in the tundra. Polar ice caps aren't the same as tundra because they don't have any vegetation. Sometimes they'll have animal life, though, so penguins, polar bears, walruses. Then we have the taiga, and the taiga is a swampy coniferous forest located in high northern altitudes bordering tundras. Coniferous refers to conifer or cone, which are a type of evergreen. So think of how pine trees have pine cones. The weather and climate of the taiga, from half the year, it's below freezing, but it can reach a high of 70 degrees during the summer. And there are really long winters and long summers with short spring and autumn. There are many evergreen species in terms of plants: spruces, firs, hemlocks, some aspens, and some small shrubs. And the animal populations are lynxes, bobcats, wolverines, voles, snowshoe hares, black bears, wolves, squirrels, moose, and elk. It will also contain permafrost under the soil. Bedrock can also be found under permafrost, which causes water to accumulate, and that's why there are tons of bogs or swamps located in the taiga. Taigas are often located in Canada, parts of Alaska, Scandinavia, and Russia, so the northernmost Siberia. In Russia, the world's largest taiga stretches about 5,800 kilometers or 3,600 miles. See an example of a wolverine and a lynx. The boreal forest. Taigas are sometimes referred to as boreal forests, and Boreas is one of the four directional wind gods. I'm sorry. Boreas is the god of northern wind, and his hair is usually spiky with ice. So, in terms of the long wintering season, the southern parts of the taiga may be referred to as coniferous, and it may mesh with a temperate coniferous forest. It has quite a few different names, whether it's the northern part where it's colder in the tundra, or southern part where it's temperate or mild. So, many different names. We get to the temperate forest, and temperate forests are generally characterized by milder climates, not really hot, not really cold. Temperate forests can fall into separate categories, such as temperate coniferous or temperate deciduous forest. It really is based on plant type. But temperate forests overall um, average about 60 degrees Fahrenheit with rain and snow, 40 inches annually. In deciduous forests, the leaves will turn colors during the autumn months. Trees will be oaks, maples, evergreens, mountain laurels, with white-tailed deer, squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons, skunks, opossums, black bears, hummingbirds, and woodpeckers. The deciduous forests are located in the eastern United States, the UK, France, Germany, parts of Korea, China, and Japan. And then we have grasslands. Um, they're exactly what you'd guess they are, lands covered with grasses. Grass is the dominant plant species. So there are some trees and shrubs, but they're only 10% of flora. Um, so when we use the term flora, we're talking about any plant species. And the term fauna, Fauna, is referring to any animal species. Grasslands do have four seasons, but they're not as getting as much rainfall as a temperate forest. The soil is super fertile, great for growing crops like wheat and corn. Um, the weather and climate will be partly dry, pretty windy, average temperatures in the 60s. Um, some grasslands are humid and more wet with higher humidities, but the plants nonetheless are many grasses and flowers with some trees and shrubs. Animals are things like badgers, bison, jackrabbits, coyote, elk, prairie dog, antelope, and I don't know why we have prairie dog listed twice. Lots of those. Grasslands are found in the Midwestern United States, the plains and prairies, parts of British Columbia, parts of South America, Asia, and Australia. So, Yellowstone is actually a mix of biomes, but mostly grasslands and a boreal forest. Or Moving into the savanna or a tropical grassland, it does receive less rainfall than the grasslands, but more rainfall than the deserts. There are lots of grasses, and it is spotted with trees. The weather and climate is a fairly warm temperature year round with two main seasons, a long dry winter and a short wet summer. Thinking The Lion King. There are acacia trees, Bermuda grasses, and elephant grasses, and it contains animals like giraffes, lions, zebras, elephants, and hyenas. Savannas are typically located between the deserts and a tropical rainforest. They are located in Africa, Indonesia, South America, and Australia. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of reference for the African savanna. Moving into the desert, which is a pretty dry, barren area of land typically covered with sand. We see less than 10 inches of rainfall per year, which is extremely dry in the desert. And temperatures can be very hot during the day, but also pretty chilly at night. There are cacti, prickly pears, and turpentine bushes with iguanas, tortoises, rattlesnakes, endangered wolves, which are pretty cool, and roadrunners seeking shelter in the desert. Deserts are found in Africa, the southwestern United States, and South America, in addition to Afghanistan. Moving into rainforests, rainforests close to the equator are tropical versus all other rainforests that are temperate, and both temperate and tropical rainforests have lots of rain. So in a temperate rainforest, we are seeing mild temperatures where it rarely freezes in the winter but doesn't really go above 80 in the summer. But there are 80 plus inches of rainfall per year with very, very rich soil. There are large looming evergreens like cedars and firs with lots of mosses and ferns. Animals include but are not limited to deer, elk, squirrels, foxes, chipmunks, and mountain lions, including a plethora of birds. In the U.S., temperate rainforests border and mesh with parts of Canada, so think the Northwest. The Pacific Northwest of the U.S., so California, Washington, Oregon, South America, including some parts of the UK and Australia, are actually listed as temperate rainforests. In a tropical rainforest, it's dense, warm, and wet with 80 plus inches of rainfall, but the soil is really thin and poor in nutrients because it is too acidic for most decomposers. The plants include but are not limited to ferns, mosses, bamboo, bananas, sugarcane, vanilla, cocoa, and many, many, many other tree species. Animals are like the jaguar, sloth bats, toucans, monkeys, tigers, tapirs, agoutis, margays, etc. And tropical rainforests have the greatest level of diversity. It is incredible. Tropical rainforests are found in Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia. If you guys want to think about Jungle Book, that's a pretty good reference point. The next slide, which is the Biome Tropical Rainforest video, you're just going to skip it. We aren't going to do that. Feel free to cross it out on your notes packets. It will not be important. But then we get to aquatic ecosystems, and we have two types of aquatic ecosystems that we can have, which are freshwater and saltwater. And an estuary is just that area where the freshwater meets the saltwater. So think a lot of the river mouths at the southern end of the United States. Freshwater ecosystems can come in flowing water, such as rivers or streams, still water, like lakes or ponds, and wetlands, which is water covering soil, and it's pretty swampy. We have all of these on campus. Marine or saltwater ecosystems are sea, ocean, and salt marshes, where the photic zone is an area of marine ecosystem that is exposed to sunlight, like coral reefs or tidal pools. And the aphotic zone, where our area of marine ecosystems that are not exposed to sunlight, thinking deep and dark, like that lanternfish with the little dangly light at the end of its noggin. So hopefully that helped expand your knowledge on marine ecosystems, specifically the photic zones. They talk a little bit about coral reefs, and you'd be able to see why oil spills and other forms of human impacts pose such a threat. Tomorrow, you guys will do a biomes activity in class, and you will have to know which biome we live in the state of Connecticut, in which case we are the temperate forests ecosystem, where we have both evergreens as well as some deciduous trees, um, animals like black bears and squirrels, opossums, raccoons, various bird species that live in the region, and we have quite a bit of seasonality. We'll talk a little bit more about that in class tomorrow. Feel free to come with all the questions that you may have, and we will also start some review.